Okay, I'm starting to go through and test all the keys for backchucking, play front to back. I'm surprised that only these 4 keys in the bass section were in need as of now. I suspect there'll be a lot more as we proceed, so I'm going to do a bit of this, and I make it about half travel, because all the way down or all the way back isn't going to give you a real indication as to whether it's become loose or not. Okay, I got a little tap, tap, tap in the middle of it, which I can hear when there isn't a car going by. Perhaps you can. So surprisingly, all these bass, you'd think the bass might be the worst, but because everything's heavier. But I don't really want to spend time treating balance holes that don't need it, and then possibly having to ease them at the other end of it. Also, the way I'm going to treat these, and there may be some exceptions in which I can't solve it purely by glue sizing, but I'm going to glue size with a watery mixture of hot hide glue. And a beauty of that is that on the one hand, when it dries, the glue dries hard as opposed to gummy, and on the other hand, the hot water that it's mixed with will melt whatever is there, and so it is slightly accumulative. And so the first round I may solve about 70 or 80% of the ones that have a problem, but I can go back to the rest, and if I have to do, if I had my druthers, I'd hand these keys over to Mike Morgan at Blackstone Valley, and he would put new balance holes in them. And he has the expertise and the equipment to not make a hash of it and to give me restored balance holes. But balance hole replacement is tricky and it's expensive, and it's not in the budget of this particular job. Just going to go back and check that, because that one's pretty bad. So the thing is, I've weighed off. I'm trusting that the modest amount of backchucking, which does have an effect on your regulation, which is why I want to do this before I set my aftertouch, or at least the most of it. It's going to take more than one round. They need to dry off thoroughly in order for me to know whether they need another round. And there may be some that actually need a physical solution. And if there are those, I will show you the solution I come up with. And there are kind of, without replacing balance holes, there are a number of things that can be done that work well and don't require machinery or the expertise that a well-experienced specialist has. The thing about it's important to take care of this, because as the piano is played, whatever is loose is going to get worse. It's going to accelerate. And, you know, certain of these keys have demonstrated that they're quite a bit worse than their neighbors. And they started off as having a little bit, and now they have more, and later they'll have even more, and it will accelerate. The more space there is to go back and forth, the more it will compress either ends of that. So it's important to take care of. Now I'm going to show you my setup here, which involves, let's see if you can, the use of an old coffee maker that got retired a long time ago. And this is part of a retired saucepan who, I can't remember what happened to it, but anyway, I sawed off the bottom of it. And what it does is it stabilizes the heat rather than having the heat go directly from the coffee maker, which was a bit on the hot side. And this is a baby jar. My youngest is now 37, so it's been around a long time. And then some hot-hide glue and water. And I use a brush because I need something that will take that very fluid, low viscosity liquid to the balance hole. And, you know, if it were a gluing job with a viscous glue, you could use like a spinach shank or something. Say for putting glue into this plug, that's exactly what I used, was a spinach shank. For putting, let's see if I've got one here. Look at these keys. They're sort of interesting. That had one lead on the wrong side. This is clearly pattern leaded. This one had one little lead up at the top. It apparently was a little on the heavy side. It was a weigh-off done by downweight. But these were all okay. So I took a lead out of there, that one, and this became exactly right. These two were exactly right with a 37 balance weight. And this one became right when I took that out. So none of them have copper in it. But, here we go. The next one does. And I installed this on the visible side just because it's had a break. But the rest of them I install on the side that had the leads. So these two did not have lead removed. They needed lead added. It gives you a sense of the tolerance in the original weigh-off. And I don't need that tolerance, really. I can just go in, as long as there's a place to put the lead, or I have the patience to take the lead out, I can get exactly what I want and make great consistency from key to key. Now, the other thing that happened with this action was that the hammers that I received were already hung, already prepared, had tails that were rough and big. And I think the previous tails on this in the previous job that was a replacement job from before. I never got to see those hammers, but they must have been rough because they had really worn out some of the back checks coverings. And the back check coverings don't go back to 1889, they go back to 30s or 40s somewhere. Anyway, we're going to treat the balance holes.